This is probably one of the most dire chapters of Black Clover that we've had yet, with it picking up by reminding us just how bad the situation is, with both Asta and Lieb having taken fatal hits in the previous chapter, meaning we just lost our best hope of taking down Lucius. And it only gets worse from there, because this is one of those chapters where as it goes on, each and every new page just adds more and more to the scale, shifting this battle in favor of Lucius, to the point where it almost seems like it's impossible for the Magnetites to have any chance of winning. Because after stealing Marx's magic, Lucius essentially livestreamed the second round of his battle against Asta and Yuno to everyone in the Clover Kingdom's capital, meaning we got to see a couple of characters we hadn't seen for a while now, like Rebecca and her siblings, as well as Sister Teresa. We even got to check in with Father Orsi, who is still in the capital from all the way back in the beginning of this arc. And they all got to see live Asta being cut down by the fake Wizard King, which obviously sent all the citizens into a panic, as well as most of the Magic Knights, because regardless of how they felt about him, they all recognized that the boy with anti-magic was their best hope of stopping all of this. So seeing him go down was not a good sign of things to come. Then immediately at the open of this chapter, Lucius would go on to evolve his angels into much more monstrous-like creatures that kinda resemble demons. Which, I mean, it makes sense for them to, considering demons are created by humans messing around with devil magic. And we know that Lucius created these angels by combining human souls and the devil magic that he got from the underworld. And with this new demon-like aesthetic likely comes a major power boost. And these things were already hard enough to deal with for the average Magic Knight before, now they're probably damn near impossible to beat. He also revived all three of his paladins, giving each of them major upgrades, which also made them look a lot less human. Now they look much more like something out of Berserk. In fact, the new form Morgan has looks almost exactly like Locus from Berserk in his apostle form. Which makes sense, Berserk is one of the series that Tabata has said is one of his favorites, and just like Bleach, he took a lot of inspiration from it. So I wouldn't be surprised if after I have a chance to sit down and look at every single devil that appeared in Berserk, at least one of them will look similar to one of the other two paladins we have here. In fact, I am almost guaranteeing that they probably do. Anyway, it took almost everything Mario, Yona, Noel, Yami, Ichika, and Noct had to win the first time, but now that the paladins have powered up, there really shouldn't be any chance of them winning. And that's just assuming it was only these three. Things would be even more dire if he also brought back any of the other fallen paladins with the same upgrades. This is what Lucius has been planning the entire time. To push everyone to their absolute limits, letting them exhaust themselves in battles they just barely win, only to revive those same opponents, but this time twice as strong. All to make sure that after he takes down Asta, all hope is lost and everyone stops resisting. And his plan is actually very close to working. You can see it in the eyes of almost every single character that shows up in this chapter. All it will take is just one more setback for them to basically lose all fight they have left. And once they give up, nothing really will be able to stand in Lucius's way. But here's the thing, even saying all that, I also feel like this is probably one of the most hopeful chapters we've had in this arc yet. Because despite how bad things are, the Black Bulls never stopped believing in Asta. They just watched him get cut down live and still don't doubt for a second that he'll find a way to get back up. And because of that, even though they're beyond tired and completely out of anti-magic, they're still ready to jump back in and help take down these newly revived threats. Because they're all thinking exactly the same thing Yami said in the beginning of this chapter, not even death would keep that kid from fighting. This is the culmination of this group watching Asta pull off miracle after miracle since they met him. No matter how bad the situation was, even when they could barely stand, he always showed them that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, and that if they worked together, they'd always find a way to win. I know this sounds like the power of friendship trope, but that's what Asta does. He encourages people to believe in one another, and that helps them push past their limits and reach new heights. And the Black Bulls continuing to fight and not lose hope will spread on to the rest of the captains, then their hope will infect the rest of the Magic Knights, and then finally the civilians. Every single person here in the capital will continue to push forward and do everything they can to win this war until Asta's ready to get back up and take the center stage. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how Tabata divvies up the Black Bulls across the battlefield though, because I imagine the majority of them will go off to help take down the Angels. Vanessa and Gray will likely go back up Noelle and her siblings against Aesir since they were pretty close to them already. And I would like to think that it's going to be Fugoyan and Leo who end up helping their sister take down Morris for the second time. Otherwise, her two siblings would have done virtually nothing in these past two arcs. But I wonder who's going to end up helping Yami's group. I mean, when you look at it, that team already seems pretty stacked in the power department, so it'd probably be best for someone who fits more in a supportive role to join them. Which, considering every other support member of the Black Bulls is currently occupied, I guess that means Gordon's our only option. Actually, you know what? I kinda like the sound of that. Have Gordon, William, and Charlotte be the ones to back up Yami's team. That way, once the battle's done, Yami can introduce Ichika to his future wife. The reaction from the two of them alone would be more than enough reason to justify slowing down the pace of the story in order to inject some comedy. I can see it now, Ichika going straight into a Sundari Brokon mode saying that she won't hand over her older brother, all while Charlotte isn't hearing any of it because at that point she had already completely blue screened. Anyway, jokes aside, I oddly feel confident in the Magic Knight's chances of turning things back in their favor, again, mostly because the Black Bulls are still so sure that things are going to work out. It's pretty hard to not absorb that hope from them when reading this chapter, even if almost everyone else feels the exact opposite. I mean, even Yuno goes from being in complete despair in the beginning of this chapter to being full of hope by the end of it. I mean, even Yuno was completely full of despair in the beginning of this chapter, canceling Neverland so that he can fight Lucius at full power, because in his mind, not only is he their last hope, but he is the only thing standing in the way of Lucius killing his brother. Which again, this is exactly what Lucius wanted to happen. He wanted Yuno to cancel Neverland and fight him at full power, because he knows that Yuno knows that without Neverland, the rest of the Magic Knights don't really stand a chance, especially now that they're all exhausted. So even though Yuno says that he believes in his allies, he knows that he's taking a huge risk and that he needs to end this fight really quickly. And this is exactly what Lucius was trying to get Yuno to do, to rush things, to get sloppy, so that once he makes a mistake, he can put him down too. That's the future that he saw with his foresight, and that likely would have been how things played out if not for Asta. Because all it took were a few words from his brother to give Yuno hope again. Now, just like the Black Bulls, he's all on board that Asta is going to win train, and just like them, he's going to push past his limits to hold Lucius back until Asta is ready to return. Which, thanks to the anti-magic gift Asta gave him, probably won't be too hard. Which, by the way, this was hands down the coolest shot of Yuno we've had this entire arc. Though I'm surprised by the amount of people who didn't see this coming. I mean, once we found out that the stronger a bond Asta has with someone, the easier it is for him to share his anti-magic with them, we should have all known that Yuno would get a boost too. The only two people going into this half of the arc I didn't think he'd give anti-magic to were Yami and Noelle, just because I didn't think they needed given their new power-ups. But now that the Paladins have also had severe upgrades, I'm more open to the idea. I mean, I guess you could still argue that Yami doesn't really need it considering dark magic has some similar properties to anti-magic, but Noelle definitely should get that boost. Anyway, Yuno teleports Asta and Libe away, most likely over to Mimosa to be healed, so that they can rejoin him in the fight against Lucius. And theoretically, that's really all it should take, her healing them up and then bam, they're right back in the fight, but it's obviously not going to be that easy. Now that Lucius has used Leech against them, they're going to have to find a way to get past that, otherwise the same thing would just happen again. Lucius will just use her to keep them from attacking, and he'll have free reign to attack them. In fact, odds are that Lucius is likely going to turn her into a paladin, and then send her down to finish the job before Mimosa can heal them. So, in the same way that Asta had to face Sister Lily in order to overcome his hangups, they're going to do the same thing with their mother. And in an ideal world, that would lead to them saving her just like they did Sister Lily, and her being revived at the end of all this. Same with Morgan and Aesir. But I know that realistically, the best that we can hope for is that they get to have a final goodbye like Noelle and Nozel did with Aesir's soul back in the Spade arc. And while this will without a doubt be a very emotional moment, it will be exactly what these two need to give them that final push, to have their hearts and minds truly in sync with one goal, to take down Lucius. And by the time they're ready to face him, they'll once again have unlocked that fifth horn and have achieved true devil union.